Assalamu alaikum. So, one of the things that's been on my mind a lot is that in Islam, when you're revert, it always encourages us to move on from the past. Because when you're a revert and you come to Islam, everything before is wiped clean. Everything. It's as if you are a newborn baby. Everything is new and fresh. So, focusing on the past can be counterproductive to that. However, as a revert, everyone asks me about my past, about how I found Islam, and even just life before Islam, which my life before Islam was vastly different. And it's something that I am proud of, that I have come as far as I have, and I appreciate my family so much in all of the challenges, and living as a non-Muslim, even though I believed in Allah and was raised Christian, there was a certain level of carelessness that I had with my life before Islam. And it's not that there was any sort of, I guess, reason to disbelieve in Allah. It was more so that I didn't believe that our actions towards ourselves really mattered. So my actions towards myself was, in my head, just a coping mechanism. Like, the amount of self-harm that I did is not something I'm proud of. However, it got me through a lot of rough situations, and the discussion around self-harm is becoming more open, but mainly it's understanding that self-harm is a means of dealing with trauma, but it's also a means of dealing with traumatic situations or experiences, in that it gave me a sense of control. And before Islam, that sense of control was a need, but not only that, it was more so unlimited, because in my head, when I did get to a point of suicidal thoughts, astaghfirullah, these moments of weakness made me want to join Allah faster, because for a long time, the love and care that I felt from Allah was the safest I had ever felt. So, in my head, my argument became, if I feel safest with Allah, and if He makes me feel so loved and cared for, why do I have to wait to be with Him? Why do I have to wait for the trajectory of my life to end however Allah's will may have it? Because in my head it was a matter of not that Allah's will wasn't good enough for me, but that I was impatient and I wanted to be with Him. So having that motivation behind suicidal thoughts is a very difficult argument to go up against. And a lot of the times I thought that it would be the perfect solution. And then I found Islam. And Islam has taught me more about forgiveness and kindness and compassion than I've ever known. And the amount of comfort given by Allah in this life. Now, the argument against suicidal thoughts is, why would I want to end the myriad of blessings and love and compassion and forgiveness that I can experience here in this dunya with other people? And especially when my life has not always been the most positive. I learned a lot from my family about finding silver linings and making a joke when things are really bad, because if you don't laugh about it, it'll kill you. But I think when that persistence of carelessness comes in, especially when I didn't know what I wanted, I didn't know or even really care what I wanted, because I was more concerned about everybody else and making sure that if I hurt somebody or disappointed somebody, not only would I do whatever I could to make it up to them and apologize, but I would punish myself, because in my head it was necessary in order to atone for a mistake. And when that level of severity is put onto mistakes, like calling home while my father was napping because he worked and was also in the National Guard and he needed sleep, because during the day when my brother and I were at school, that was the only time he could get it. And so I called home and woke him up. And I felt like I was going to die because I was so scared, and like my throat closes up, like my stomach drops, like I go completely pale, and like devastation sets in. And there was, even back then as a kid, like I felt like I needed to deal with it, like punish myself for making such a mistake. But it wasn't even a big deal. So I think becoming more self aware through my actions and then also through others' reactions allows a clearer picture of just how gosh darn dramatic I was. Like, and it's not a level of like I was doing something wrong by punishing myself or like becoming so anxious around other people. Like, it's kind of manifested through this idea that I have to take care of my own actions. And logically, in my head, that means I have to take care of my own punishment. Even though Allah is the most just, and Allah is the only one who will judge us and hold us accountable for everything we've done, the good and the bad. But as a Muslim, that is comforting because not only are we going to be punished for what we did wrong, we're also going to be rewarded for what we did well. And it's like this weight of responsibility has been lifted, because there's in Christianity an understanding that Jesus gets you into heaven. Believing that he died for you on the cross gets you into heaven. There is no guarantee in Islam. Yes, you can do your best, and yes, you should do your best, because that's what makes Allah happy. And it makes him happy when we follow his guidance, just as it makes our parents happy when we follow their guidance, because they do know how to keep us safe. And in a disclaimer, when I say parents, I'm talking my parents are that for me, but it may not be your parents for you. It may be your significant other. It may be your best friend. It may be a group of friends. It may be anyone in your life who has that care for you, to check in on you, to make sure you're taking your meds, to make sure you're eating and drinking enough water and sleeping. Like, this understanding of where your past has led you is what Islam focuses on. So my past has led me to Islam. And so focusing on Islam is what is most important. And by discouraging talk about your past isn't about making you shameful of your past sins. It isn't about making you think that your identity is only in Islam. It's more about making sure you don't get distracted again. Because the only thing we have as a guarantee is that Allah loves us and He is just, and all of the things that Allah is. We don't have a guarantee of time. We don't have a guarantee of location. Like, we don't know when it's going to be our time to go, because that's up to Allah. But understanding how little time we have is essential in making decisions for our life. And especially when career and personal life, achievements, whatever goals one may have in life, it definitely puts those into perspective of, okay, this is your goal in life. Cool. How long is it going to take? Is that time worth it? Like, is that time focused on that one goal enough time for you to achieve goals in other areas? Or just, even if your goal is to find as many dogs as you can and give them homes, like, if you're focusing all your time on that, how does that affect the rest of your life? How does that affect how you interact with people? How does that affect what time you give to other areas? And especially when thinking about understanding why Muslims are called to pray 5 times a day. Because the analogy being, if you clean a shirt 5 times a day, it's going to be pretty clean. Same with your soul. When you pray and look to Allah, that's when our soul gets clean. And we ask for forgiveness and guidance from Allah. And so every time we do that, we're refreshing ourselves. We're getting ready for whatever mess is going to happen next. And it's extremely messy sometimes and intense, as all of us have gone through our own struggles. And I think it's a big part of Islam to understand that where you were before Islam is not denying your struggle, is not telling you that that part of you is now dead and you're a whole new person now. Because that's ridiculous. Like, yeah, you have new goals, you have new ideas, you have new wants and needs, but you're still a Midwest Muslima. Half of me is chilling in the Midwest, and it's not something that I should ever be ashamed of, but it is also not my present. My present is in Allah. My present is with my husband. And inshallah, everything gets back to that center. But alhamdulillah for everything. And to those we've lost along the way, it is extremely difficult to say goodbye, especially if we feel like we didn't get a chance to say goodbye, or are upset because our last goodbye was the last goodbye. But it's definitely a perspective of when we lose somebody, we always wish we had more time. So leaving our lives up to the will of Allah, that's what gives us more time, is trusting Allah and savoring and working for every good moment that we can. So yeah, it's just been what's going on in my head. You know, nothing too heavy. But I hope everyone is happy and healthy. And whatever goal you may have, inshallah, you put in the work and understand that even if you backslide a little bit, that's alright. You're still moving forward. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Stay warm.